Hey everyone, this is Dan with DPS Breakdowns. In this video, we're going to do an in-depth study on the knee pick takedown, also known as a knee tap. The knee pick is a technique that works effectively in wrestling, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and even mixed martial arts. We'll analyze the takedown by studying Olympic and world champion Hassan Yazdani, who uses the knee pick as one of his primary takedowns. There are generally 4 steps to a successful knee pick. 1. Obtain an underhook. 2. Drive forward while elevating the underhooking elbow. 3. Immobilize the opponent's far leg. 4th, drive opponent over his immobilized leg. Let's now apply those 4 steps to some competition footage. So let's play this one out and then we'll go in depth. You can see the underhook on the left side runs through for the takedown. So the first step is going to be the entry. Right now Yazdani has that right arm collar tie. And right here you can see how he has the elbow tie with his left hand here. He's going to cut his left elbow to the inside as his hand switches from the triceps or the elbow to the opponent's lat. So once you have the underhook, the next step is going to be driving forward while elevating the underhooking elbow. Those can happen in really either order or at the same time. It's going to kind of depend on the clip. But here you can see Yazdani's going to drive forward. He's already reaching for that far leg. And what I mean by elevate the elbow is basically flaring your elbow out. So think about, generally you want to have elbows close to the ribs. That's kind of like the default position in grappling. But when you have an underhook, it's a little bit different. It's generally going to be better to separate the elbow from the ribs because it's going to also separate the opponent's elbow from his ribs. And so that elevation is key to do that. What it's also going to do is it's going to give you the angle. So as you drive forward and you elevate that elbow, it tends to turn the opponent from being head-on to more perpendicular, which is the desired angle for a knee pick. So driving forward, elevating that elbow, you can see how James Green here in the red starts head-on. Now he's more perpendicular. The third is going to be immobilizing the far leg. So that's going to be Yazdani grabbing. Here it's going to be a little bit below the knee, more at the calf. And that again, that can vary as well. So sometimes you'll grab right at the side of the knee. Sometimes you'll even go as low as the heel or the ankle. And here it's kind of in the middle, right at the calf. Once he has that leg, it's now going to be immobilized. And as Yazdani continues to drive forward, now Green has no ability to prevent that force. He's going to fall to his hip here. He actually gets airborne in this clip. And that's just indicative of Yazdani's pressure, his drive. So he's really running with his feet. Drives him forward, takes him straight down. So let's see it again, slow-mo. First we've got that underhook entry. Next we've got the drive forward while elevating the elbow. Immobilize the far leg, drive through. Moving on to the next clip. Underhook on the left again. Strong drive forward and he gets the finish. So kind of similar to the last one, starts with that right arm collar tie. And his opponent's just going to give him that space on he'll be on Yazdani's left side. He just brings that underhook right in. So not a real fancy entry here. Just punches it in. Another thing to talk about is head position. So I grew up in the US, I wrestled in the US in high school. Generally speaking, the way it's taught in the US is you want your head on the same side as the underhook. Yazdani does not do that. I've almost never seen it. He's always bringing his head the opposite side of the underhook. And this is going to put him in a better position to grab the opponent's knee. It's just going to be closer. If his head, the opponent's head is a barrier if Yazdani keeps his head on the same side as his underhook. But when he has the head on the opposite side, it's a lot easier to reach for that far leg. So that's something you're going to see in all these clips. But anyways, first step, gain that underhook. Second step is the drive while elevating the elbow. So here you can see it's more of a drive. He does the drive first here. And it's not until this point right here where you can see how he raises his left elbow. You can see the elbow right there. And this is going to again give him more of that ideal angle, more perpendicular. Here he grabs the back of the knee. So this one's going to be a little higher than the prior clip where he was grabbing more at the calf. And he maintains that elevation of the elbow as he drives forward. So you immobilize the leg, continue to drive the opponent over that now immobilized leg, and they have no ability to withstand that pressure, and they fall down. So again, watch the drive here. Underhook, he's running. Run. Elevates the elbow, immobilize that far leg, drive. Gets the 2. So here we've got a shot, grabs the underhook here, blocks a knee, drives through. If you like playing the underhook, I think it's a really good idea to develop a single leg shot on the same side that you like playing the underhook. So, for example, Yazdani likes playing the underhook on his left. Look at this shot to the left. And then as the opponent sprawls and grabs his overhook to defend, Yazdani just needs to stand up and he's got his underhook. So that's a really kind of a useful thing to have, is a shot on the same side you do the underhook for this very reason. So as soon as he stands up off the failed shot, he's ready to go. And so this clip, I want to emphasize another point, which has kind of been prevalent in the prior 2 clips, but I didn't emphasize it, is the idea of trying to get your opponent's weight on that far leg. So even before you block the leg, so you can see he stands up here, driving in hard yet again. You can see right here he's also elevating that elbow, getting his angle. You can see all the opponent's weight is stepping onto his back leg here. You can see his other foot's actually off the ground. And the more the opponent has the weight on that back leg, the more difficult it's going to be for them to keep their balance once that leg is blocked and you drive the force over that leg here. So you can see how the leg just kind of caves in. It's holding all of the weight right now, and as it's blocked and the force continues to come, it's no longer able to hold that weight, and it's going to fall straight back here. So again, we've got that entry off the failed shot. We've got the driving forward while elevating the elbow. The back leg, the far leg is immobilized, and he drives through. And you can see this one, the angle's a little bit more head-on than the other one. So the angle's not always going to be exactly perpendicular. I think that's more of a ideal situation, but this one's a little more head-on and it still works very well. And a big part of that is he's able to get the opponent's weight onto his left leg, that rear leg here. This next clip's going to really illustrate Yazdani's tenacious hand fighting ability. So let's see it all the way through. Watch how he's constantly on the head here. So constant little pulls. Big pull there, gets the opponent's hands on the mat. Still clubbing the head. Finally grabs that underhook, drives through for the finish. So this one's going to be more of an ankle pick than a knee pick, while still maintaining that underhook. So the hand fighting is always a big part of the game, especially if you're someone that enjoys the underhook. It just makes it easier to get there when you can bother the opponent with good hand fighting. So here, just these little pulls, pushes the head. Right there, he's able to get the opponent's hands on the mat. So you can see how Yazdani's right hand finds the crook of the elbow here, and he's going to duck his head as he pulls down, forces that post on both sides. Still pulling on the head, and he gets the underhook. So this is always a good time. Opponent's bent over here, he's going to want to get his head back in good position, and as he raises up, sometimes that space is there for that underhook. And look at this here. So it doesn't seem like a whole lot, but just this little elevation, that little flare of Yazdani's elbow here, makes a big difference. It's going to give him that desirable angle. It's also just going to put his opponent in a worse position here. That right arm overhook or whizzer gets a lot weaker the more you can elevate the elbow here. So from here, Yazdani is going to continue to drive forward. And just like in the first clip, it's going to be more on the calf rather than the knee. And it's actually going to slip down even further. Right here, you can see it on the ankle as he drives through. And so one thing worth talking about just briefly, why go for the ankle versus the knee? I think it's kind of a preference thing. You tend to be a little more stretched out when you reach all the way down for the ankle while maintaining that underhook. Yazdani's a longer guy, about 6 feet tall, pretty long arms. So it's maybe a little bit easy for him to do that than it would be for someone that's a little shorter or stockier. I think when you reach lower, it tends to be a more efficient point to pull. So you can pull the ankle out easier than you could kind of pull someone's whole leg off the ground from the knee. But then the downside, of course, is you're more stretched out. It may be a little bit harder to generate forward pressure. So that's something to experiment with, both styles between the knee and the ankle. So let's see that one more time. There's this strong hand fighting here, constantly on the head. Eventually it's going to open up that avenue for the left underhook right there. Drives forward, immobilizes the leg, and drives through. So this one's also going to finish on the ankle as well. So here the opponent's going to fall to his knees, and Yazdani uses that to get his underhook. So think about any time where you can get a front headlock, there's probably a good chance you could also get an underhook. Pretty similar points of control. One's going to be generally under the chin. The other one is going to be you're going to have your hand under the armpit. But they're usually pretty interchangeable positions. And so you can actually see he switches. So he has the underhook on his right, and he's going to switch to his preferred side, which is going to be the left. And watch how he jacks this up. So again, that elbow elevation. So right now his opponent's right elbow is pretty close to his own ribs. As Yazdani elevates his elbow here, look how that changes the angle. It's a crucial detail to this technique. So the opponent is now at a much more perpendicular angle to Yazdani. It also kind of forces the weight to that back leg, which is going to be the target leg for the immobilization. And so again, Yazdani is going to go below the knee, well below the knee, and get the ankle here while maintaining that underhook. He's actually going to drop to his right knee for this one. Once that leg is immobilized, whether at the knee or the ankle, you want to think about driving the opponent's weight over that immobilized leg. And here he's going to collapse the knee and then the hip. And that's going to be it. So the opponent's down. Yazdani initially gets the underhook on the right. It's going to switch to the left. And that elevation is really big here. Really good illustration of that. So right now they're pretty head on. Now they're perpendicular, or at least close to perpendicular. Grabs the ankle, drives him over that immobilized leg. This next clip is an interesting one. Again, Yazdani on the head, snap into that left underhook. Misses it initially, but he kind of like reloads and gets it again. So on the head here. So that snap here is on the wrist with his left, collar tie with the right, snaps him down. So a lot of guys here would probably look for the front headlock, but Yazdani's going to go for the underhook here. So kind of like before I was saying, they can be interchangeable positions. So Yazdani's going to get the underhook on his left, and look at that elbow elevation. So he's going to elevate his left elbow, which in turn elevates his opponent's right elbow. Gonna start driving forward while immobilizing that far leg, but he's not quite able to get it here. And so sometimes the opponent they're just able to kind of withstand it. Maybe they have great balance, they're particularly strong. Here you can also see the opponent manages to get an underhook with his left arm, which may kind of weaken Yazdani's grip on the leg there. But in any event, he's not quite able to get the finish, and the opponent actually squares up here for a split second. So the opponent has the weight on that far leg, which is what you want as the person doing the knee pick. But he's able to get his weight back on his right leg here in a much better position. But Yazdani's he's gonna stay on it. So you can't see it right here, but he still has his right hand behind the opponent's knee, actually a little bit above it. And he's gonna, almost like a false sense of security here, opponent thinks he's out, and Yazdani pivots right back into it. So he's gonna flare his elbow again, and look at how low he ducks his head here. So you can see a lot of flexibility there. He's really gonna pivot hard, drive everything into that, and at that point it's gonna work here. So really interesting. He drives forward, opponent's able to withstand it for a second, gets into what looks like a pretty good position to defend, but Yazdani stays on that knee, doesn't leave it, and is able to finish it. So one more time all the way through. Elevate the elbow, drive through, immobilize the leg, maintains that immobilization, and he drives the opponent's weight over that immobilized leg for the finish. Here Yazdani uses his uppercut entry, which is a really common one for him. This is a really smooth finish here. So this is probably the entry I see Yazdani use the most, which I don't see a lot of other people using. It's almost like he's throwing an uppercut with his left arm. So he's on the elbow, or actually the triceps here, with his left hand. And the key is the elbow. So he leads with his elbow, and then his hand is going to transfer from the triceps to the lat. So he swings in. So it's like a really tight uppercut that he's throwing. And he really kind of pops his hips into it as well. Hand switches to the lat. And you can see right away, head's gonna go to the other side. That's the way Yazdani does it. I think that's kind of the Iranian style in general. But it's really kind of contrary to the way it's taught in the US, which is an interesting contrast. And so Yazdani's really gonna jack the underhook up in this clip. So you can see how he steps in, raises his elbow, and actually readjusts the grip. And now look at his opponent's right arm in a really bad spot. And so the opponent, especially in freestyle where you don't want to give a push out, he really wants to hold his ground here. So as Yazdani jacks that elbow up, elevates his own elbow, he's got his angle. So he's pretty much perpendicular at this point. The opponent has his weight all on his left leg here, which is going to be that far leg that's going to be the target for the immobilization. And that's what Yazdani is going to do. He's going to step forward, maintains that good elevation with his elbow, blocks the outside of the knee, and it's just going to drive forward. This one's particularly smooth because not only does he do everything else he's been doing, but he's also going to step. I don't know if this is intentional or not, but his left foot's going to block both of his opponent's feet here. So the opponent, it's like his feet are shackled here. Both of his feet they're both immobilized. And he's going to fall down for the finish. So once more, see this uppercut entry. Head switches positions. Really elevates that left elbow. Immobilizes the knee. Somehow blocks both feet with one of his. Gets the really smooth finish. So this will be the last clip and probably my favorite one of the entire video. And so let's see it all the way through here. We've got a slide by to a knee pick to a cartwheel to just a crazy clip. Lots going on here. So let's definitely slow that down. So I think it's probably safe to say I've watched way too much film of this one guy, Hassan Yazdani, so I kind of know what he's going to do in a given situation here. When an opponent gets a right arm collar tie on him, he's got this really effective slide by he'll use, where he's going to grab his own collar tie with his right arm. He's going to bring his left arm in this inside space here. He's actually going to try to come through, grip the tricep from this underneath position, and he's going to throw the arm by here. And what he wants to do is he wants to clear the elbow. And if he can do that, then he can get around to the back and finish the takedown. But He's not going to quite clear the elbow here, so the opponent does a good job keeping his elbow, from preventing his elbow from being cleared. He's also going to, you see how the opponent raises his right leg? So that's kind of like a programmed defensive move by him. Even if his elbow was cleared, it would make it more difficult for Yazdani to get around to the backside because that leg is so high. And so Yazdani is going to do something really clever here. He's going to go for a knee pick from this position. So he has an underhook with his left. He's around the waist, which he normally doesn't do, but in this case he does. And he's going to bring his right hand to the knee. And it's a really good time to do a knee pick because all the opponent's weight is all on his left leg here. So it works really well. He's going to drive forward. He's immobilized the leg. Watch how the opponent cartwheels here, or at least tries to. Both hands on the mat, jumps through. Really athletic for a bigger dude. But Yazdani's still going to come up on top here. So he's not able to cartwheel all the way through. Kind of falls on his head here, or his neck. And Yazdani ends up on top. So this is a really cool example of just like hitting the knee pick off of a transition. So it wasn't necessarily a planned move, but the opportunity presented itself and he goes for it. So slide by, doesn't quite clear the elbow, but he's in a great position to transition to that knee pick. Blocks the outside of the knee as he drives forward. Opponent attempts to cartwheel. And Yazdani is able to get on top. You can see it all the way through once, full speed. Great clip. That's going to be it for this video. Please let me know below if you have any questions or comments. Thanks for watching.